Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Those of you who found the time. I'll be presenting Chaarat, assuming this is not a very technical audience. I'll try to stick to sort of more general description of what we're trying to do and why we think it's a good investment to become a shareholder of Chaarat. So the short story, for those of you who think gold is something that they want to have some exposure to, the reasons to own Chaarat is because we have a very large deposit. It's actually one of the largest deposits, undeveloped deposits in the world. It is high grade, which certainly sets us quite apart from other companies and deposits. A lot of it is heap leachable, which means it's a very simple ore to extract the gold from. And the country is not a bad country at all, perhaps slightly less so than Switzerland and the UK, but there's a lot of much poorer places to operate. I was talking about size and grade. So as you can see here, those are sort of most of the large undeveloped deposits in the world. Some of them are already in operation, G resource, since this table was made, they started production. But you can see most of the world deposits that have been developed. Perseus also is in production, by the way, are very low grade, which means they're very susceptible to any price shock. Price goes down a little bit, tax goes up a little bit, margin is being killed, you get into the red, and it's a real problem. In our case, we are one of the highest grade undeveloped deposits in the world, and yet quite large, just over 5 million ounces, and much more to be found. As you can see, because this is how it looks, we have three zones, as we call them, the different colors. And the highlighted areas are what we've actually been drilling in. So as you can see, there's much more gold to be found, we believe. We've only done less than 20% of the strike of the deposit. So there's going to be a lot of gold there, and it's going to be operating for many, many years. You can't talk about anything in the Kyrgyz Republic without mentioning China or in the mining industry. Most of the mining construction deals, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, were this way or another financed by Chinese companies. I mean, certainly since 2011, when mining companies sort of stopped buying other companies and realized that, it's not going to work very well, investment in new mines have ceased, with the exception of Chinese companies. They're sitting on a lot of money, and they are very, very keen to get their hands on resource. So China is very important. The Kyrgyz Republic is a neighbor of China, so Chinese consider it as sort of backyard or sphere of influence. There are a number of Chinese companies already operating in the Kyrgyz Republic. Zijin, which is the second largest gold producer in China, is building a mine here. China Gold is building a mine 20 kilometers from Chaarat, and there are numerous smaller companies already operating in the Kyrgyz Republic. So for a Chinese person to come to the mining business in the Kyrgyz Republic is a non-brainer. He feels at home because more people speak Chinese than any other language there. So this is something that, from an investor perspective, is very important because a lot of the junior companies end up their life being taken over by larger companies, and the existence of very strong activity of Chinese companies is quite meaningful. What are we doing now? We have drilled the deposit for more than 10 years, actually almost 12 years, spent a lot of money, over $100 million, in delineating this very large resource. We have received and secured a mining license, which cost us a lot of money because it gave us the exclusive right to what they call exploit or benefit from the deposit. And we have started a feasibility study which will tell us what is the best way to make money out of this deposit. It's one thing to have the gold in the ground. It's a completely different story to take it out, and it's a completely different story to actually make money whilst doing so, because it's very easy to lose money in doing that. And the preliminary results that we've had for the work of the feasibility study are quite encouraging. We will be issuing some statements shortly and bring it to the public domain. And as I said, the purpose of the DFS, of the study, is to tell us what to do. It looks like we're going to be having 2 production lines. The first line is going to be the low-cost, simple technology of heap leach. That's going to be producing, we believe, 110, 120,000 ounces per year. Just to give you a feel, this is a turnover of about $150 million, so, because there's some silver coming with it as well. So it's not a small operation. It doesn't sound a lot, 110,000, but there's a lot of money coming in. The second line is hopefully going to be a larger operation in terms of production, and that's going to be processing what we call the refractory material, the material which is less easy to process. We are looking at different ways to do that. We have established at least one very good option, but we're looking now for cheaper and simpler option, and actually we get pretty good results out of that. The processing facilities are going to be located, and I'll just very quickly run here. This is the mine area, and we're going to actually build a tunnel and locate the processing facilities here on the adjacent valley, because that's going to be much better from the point of view of logistics, environment, access, electricity, everything. So that is something that has been decided a few months ago, and we believe that although there's an upfront cost associated with it, this is something that's going to be very accretive to the company. So we're probably going to do it. That's sort of the simple story of production. There's quite a lot of upside that has been identified, and we're trying to implement some of it in the feasibility study, and some of it is going to be hopefully sort of coming in later. We have found out that our ore is very amenable to what's called bio-oxidation, and that is a process that requires less power and lower cost of consumables. Technologically, it's a very simple process. We're going to get final results of the larger scale test in about a month, but so far it is looking very good. The life of mine can be extended, and actually the production can be extended by more heap leach material that we believe we're going to be finding. So there's actually quite a lot that once we've established initial production, we think we can improve and increase the production capacity. It's just, a little bit to give you a feel of where we are. This is the first pit where we're going to take out the material that is heap leachable. Then those other pits are going to generate the refractory material, the tunnel. So it's very, very near. It's about 1 kilometer from the pit to the portal of the tunnel, and from there everything is going to conveyor. It's going downhill. The waste is going to be stored here in all this area. Again, in many mines, you can see waste trucks driving for 10, 15 kilometers, and there's a lot of cost to it. Here, everything is very compact. So that's the advantage, and obviously the other side of being compact is the fact that we're building the facilities in a different location. A little bit about the country. The first thing to bear in mind is that the Kyrgyz Republic is a mining country. They are very poor in other resources, whilst Kazakhstan and Russia are rich in hydrocarbon and oil and gas. The poor Kyrgyz don't benefit from that. The main industry that brings money to the treasury is mining. A big chunk of the income comes from Santera, which is based here, producing a few 100,000 ounces a year. So as much as the government obviously makes a lot of noise about this, that, and the other, they cannot do without mining. This is the main source of new investment. This is the main source of income. This is the main source of generating employment for the young people who don't want to be farmers or herders. And the government is very, very aware of that. They are trying to welcome foreign investors. Like every government, they don't always get their act, together in the right way. But all in all, we feel that I've been working in this country since '96. I've been involved in setting up a number of companies, and it worked well for us. What can I say? I mentioned the border with China, which means the Kyrgyz Republic, from the Chinese perspective, is, an annexed territory, which they feel that they have a bit of a design over. And, the taxation basis is not good, but it's reasonable. And they've been very smart in building a tax regime which is sort of a sliding scale. It goes up and down with the gold price. And the biggest issue that gold companies had over the last years is that when gold price went up, all the countries that hosted the mines tried to get the prices up. And when the price came down, they forgot to bring the tax down. So in this country, the tax is a reflection of the gold price, which is quite a useful situation. As a company, we're quite committed to the communities where we operate, into the environment. We've been operating measures for a number of years now to contribute to the environment, mitigation of problems, health and education, and to the employment of young people around us. I think very sort of successfully. We have good relationship with the communities around us. And that's something very important, because effectively as a company you need to get what's called a license to operate from your neighbors. And we have had every time that we needed sort of to get, for the want of a better word, permission from the local communities, and there was what they call a public hearing, it was always overwhelmingly in favor of what we requested them. Chaarat has a few other exploration assets, Chontash, which is a very interesting deposit. We don't spend money on it right now because we want to focus all our money and means on developing Chaarat, but Chontash has a very, very serious potential. Mironovskoy, which is probably something we're going to sell. It's a ready-to-mine polymetallic deposit. And another very interesting, pretty much greenfield license, which we will try to get someone to either joint venture in or do something with us. The company itself is held quite tightly. The directors own about 14% of the shares. We have a new shareholder that has amassed 18% of the shares. We do not know whether there's anything untowards that they are thinking about doing, but certainly that didn't hurt the share price to know that people are interested. A Chinese company owns 9% of the shares, and they're quite big supporters of us. And then First State, BlackRock, and Baker Steel. Baker Steel I consider amongst the best mining investors anywhere. So very, very good support. 45 million pounds market cap. And that's it. So to recap, because that tells me that I've basically finished my time. It's one of the world's largest deposits, feasibility study underway, dedicated management. I'm not going to say the greatest management. I don't want to talk about myself. Certainly the best finance director sitting over there, Linda. And a very valuable set of exploration assets. So that's us. Thank you very much.